Leon Atkinson, we always greet each other, and it's a pleasure to see you this morning.
Thank
Good
you,
morning.
Vern. It's a pleasure to be here.
And sometimes life is more real than others.
Yes, today's show is a slight variation, detour, whatever you might want to label it as, because it's not the traditional Guitar Hour show. On December 30th, we lost a young rising star in the guitar world, and very tragically his life was cut short at 20. And so today's show is a tribute to Daniel Carter. We have two events going on, and so I have always felt obligated to make sure those events are part of the show. One, we're going to start off with the person, Paul Grove, who also was a teacher of Daniel Carter from the time he was 12 to 18. So he taught Paul taught him for 6 years. Then he taught him his last semester, but he came back to Whitworth this last semester from September to December.
And so we will feature, in many ways, we'll really pull the circle close, which I think is important at this time. So Paul Grove, who has a concert this Sunday afternoon at St. John's Cathedral. It's their regular second Sunday series, and they seem to have the good taste to bring him in just about every year. And the great thing about Paul, he's been very ambitious in creating new recordings for himself.
Constantly, which is wonderful. He's been very, very prolific. This is from his brand new recording, and it's the Black Decameron by Leo Brower, and we're going to listen to the Warrior's Harp. That was Paul Grove playing the first movement of the Black Decameron by Leo Brower, and that was called A Warrior's Harp.
And it's kind of neat CD because it has a couple Ponce tunes on it, the Sonatina Meridional, Crespo tune, and a few Villalobos etudes, and the Faya Omaggio. Oh, and down here, Hans Werner Henze Oberon. Sounds like a pretty cool CD that Paul, I think, has just
got him.
And with any luck, we'll be having him probably at the concert on Sunday.
I'm sure they'll be there.
Yeah, so that's Sunday afternoon at St. John's Cathedral. I'm not going to say the time, and I don't definitively know it. I think I know it, but maybe we'll announce it
I'm
later.
not sure.
Okay, I'll announce it so we don't say the wrong thing.
Right.
But I know it's Sunday afternoon at St. John's Cathedral. This CD, by the way, called Nuage. So there's Paul Grove as performer, and we think of Paul Grove as teacher.
Paul Grove will be involved in this next segment, or the majority of the next segment, because the next segment is a memorial tribute to the young Daniel Carter, the late young Daniel Carter. Daniel was a guitarist, and first a pianist. And he started studying the piano at 6 with Tetra McLaughlin. And we're going to listen to him play piano to start with. And he left the piano at the age of 12. Well, actually, he didn't leave the piano. I was just corrected when I spoke to her this morning. He studied the piano from 6 to 12, and then he started playing the guitar. And while he was studying the guitar, he decided that he couldn't stop the piano. And his teacher said, I think it was more his dedication to me, because he felt that he had to keep doing the piano for me. She said everyone that has spoken about Daniel has spoken about his immense character. And it came out when I was talking to his different teachers. He studied in Ephrata. He's from Ephrata, Washington. And he studied in Ephrata. His first piano teacher, they said, was Tetra McLaughlin. I keep saying McLaughlin, Tetra McLaughlin. And his first guitar teacher was Harold Giese. And I hope I'm saying that right, Harold. And he was a blues guitarist there. And he studied with him for a while, about a year. And then, or maybe even slightly less than a year, but then he left and he came to Spokane and he found Paul Grove. That's how Paul gets into this equation. But before we jump to Paul and the guitar, let's start with him playing the piano, which was his first instrument. And actually he continued studying the piano with this same teacher until he was 18, she told me this morning.
This was one of those Music Festival live broadcasts from 2009, I believe. Daniel Carter is a 10th grader at Ephrata High School, piano student of Preta Laughlin, and has for us a little bit of Chopin. This is the Chopin Nocturne in C-sharp minor.
That was pianist Daniel Carter.
Nice.
And
Daniel Carter playing Chopin for us. Okay, I cut that off too soon, but that
okay,
was...
that was Daniel Carter playing the Nocturne in C-sharp minor by Chopin. And as you can hear, he was a very accomplished pianist. Very sensitive playing, nice. The lines sang beautifully like Chopin is supposed to. And again, I apologize to his teacher because I misheard the name when it was spelled to me. It's not with a T, but Petra McLaughlin.
P-R-E-T.
Prada, okay. I was still saying the T, aren't I?
No,
Prada McLaughlin, okay. and she taught him, as I said, from age 6 through 18. Matter of fact, she came into the station here several times during the music fest and accompanied him when he played the guitar. So she's been very much a part of his life. She was the one who actually emailed the station to ask for the material originally. Okay, now we're going to move to Daniel Carter, the guitarist. And at this point in time, Daniel has moved not from Ephrata, but from studying in Ephrata to studying in Spokane with the guitarist Paul Grove, who you just heard. And we're going to listen to him play the A minor fugue by J.S. Bach. That was young guitarist Daniel Carter, the late young guitarist Daniel Carter, who left us on the 30th of December. At this point in time, Daniel was studying with Paul Grove, and I was with Paul last night, and I had him write something of his feelings about Daniel, and what he wrote was, and I'm quoting, excuse me, not to go off. During the years that Daniel and I worked together, I was as much his student as he was mine. When I gave 100%, Daniel gave 105%. So that says a lot about Daniel. And every teacher that I've spoken to of his has given me very much the same kind of thought. There is a wonderful thing that goes on in Spokane. It's called the Music Fest. It takes place on the campus of Gonzaga every May. And there is the Young Artists competition, and they compete to do a movement of a concerto with a symphony. And Daniel won for 2011. And this was from the recording from the Music Fest and orchestra with him playing the movement of, I believe it was the Villalobos concerto.
And because I got to MC it, when we did the broadcast of that, I included my opening remarks so we'd learn even a little more about Daniel. Now, back to the business at hand and the performers we have. It is a regional festival. Yes, it's based in Spokane, but so much it is about the region. All day on the radio broadcast, I have kids from everywhere, a lot of kids from Moscow and Pullman. And the next performer is one of these regional people who comes to Spokane, uses it as his center, and yet lives far away. He lives in Ephrata. And I once had a student from that far away, and there's nothing like having a student from that far away. They come every couple of weeks, and they study intensely. They take their lessons 4 times more seriously for the effort of the trip, and amazing things happen. And that's certainly been the case with Dan Carter and his teacher, Paul Grove, whom he's been studying with these last few years. We have a guitar program on KPBX. I'm very aware of what's going on in the guitar, and I've been hearing about this kid, Dan, who has come in occasionally and played. We've gotten to know him. So it's a thrill that, while still only in high school, a senior, that Daniel Carter is here with us to play as a young artist. Lobos wrote a lovely guitar concerto, and we are going to hear the second movement of the Villalobos guitar concerto. Please welcome Daniel Carter. We've been hearing the guitarist Daniel Carter, senior at Ephrata High School, playing the second movement of the Concerto for Guitar and Small Orchestra by Villa-Lobos, a student of Paul Grove, and next year who will be attending Pepperdine University, where he will be a student of the renowned guitarist Christopher Parkening. Daniel Carter receiving the accolades of this audience. Not a huge audience, but an enthusiastic audience in this concert of Wednesday, May 11th at the Bing Crosby Theater, the annual Young Artist Concert of Music Fest Northwest.
Okay, and that was Daniel playing there, the Villa-Lobos second movement. And as Vern said in his back announcing, he was then slated to head down to Pepperdine and to study with Christopher Parkening, which he did. And I took the time to get a hold of Chris, and we talked a couple of times, and I interviewed him this morning at 9 o'clock, and I'd like to share that with you now. Very grateful that you agreed to do this, and I'm calling about a young man, a very talented young guitarist whose life was cut short, Daniel Carter. And he spent a year down there with you studying, and I would like you to just give us a little bit of your memory of Daniel and how he impacted you, the school, and what you thought his potential was.
Of course. Well, every so often you come into contact with a student of the caliber of Daniel Carter. He was an extremely gifted young musician, an excellent student, no doubt. He spent countless hours perfecting his skills, and certainly Pepperdine University benefited from his musicianship in so many ways. He was admired by the faculty here and all of his peers. Leon, just a model student. And I'm very grateful to have had that opportunity to work with Daniel and mentor him in a number of ways.
Oh, you're speaking to the choir, because I had the exposure to Daniel also, and anyone that has had exposure to him would have been touched, but especially being the guitarist that you are and that I am, it's when you run across that, like you said, it's rare, and when you see it in somebody, it's just, as you were going through the accolades, I was feeling chills through my body, and I'm sure you were feeling them when you were saying it. Absolutely.
Daniel not only was an excellent student, his character was very rare. He not only was an excellent student and young guitarist, but he was a committed Christian. He loved the Lord. He read his Bible daily. He demonstrated his faith through his character and integrity. And like I say, he was respected and admired by all of the fine arts staff and his peers alike. So, just a model student. I went through, Leon, many of his programs that he performed here. We have, as a part of a year of study, the first semester, the students have the opportunity to go to a professional recording studio and actually record a piece or two, and then the same thing happens in the spring semester. So I have 4 recordings of Daniel that he made in a professional studio. The fugue from the violin sonata BWV 1001. He played the Usher Waltz. He played the absolutely beautiful Capriccio Araby. Recorded that, and he also performed down here the Concerto in D major by Mario Castelnuovo Tedesco, specifically the third movement of that piece. But I've also been researching we have something called Music at 3, his programs for that. And when I spoke with Daniel's father, I told him this, that Daniel, one of the last pieces that I gave Daniel was a hymn called "'Tis So Sweet to Trust in Jesus." Daniel had performed most of the hymns that were in a Sacred Music for the Guitar folio that I had published. And when I came across this, I think it was in Guitar Player magazine, this particular hymn, and it was a beautiful arrangement of it. I immediately took the music to Daniel, and he performed that piece in a major concert with another student that I had, Kevin Enstrom, here, and the performance of that concert was recorded, and his father specifically asked for that hymn, "'Tis So Sweet to Trust in Jesus," and I believe that he may use that recording as part of Daniel's memorial service.
Yes, that'll be wonderful.
And if you want information for that, his memorial service is Saturday, January 19th at 1 p.m., and it's at the Bethlehem Chapel in, I don't know quite how you say, Ephrata, Washington.
Yes.
612 3rd Avenue, Southeast Ephrata, Washington. So I'm also recording, by the way, a tribute to Daniel, which will be played at his memorial service.
Oh, Chris, it's so wonderful that you've taken this time. I can hear in your voice, and when we spoke earlier yesterday, I could hear how touched you have been, as so many of us have, with the loss of Daniel. It's a tremendous loss to just generally the world, and a tremendous loss to the world of guitar.
Mm. Thank you, Leon.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Well, that was Christopher Parkening, Daniel's teacher for the last year down at Pepperdine. And as you heard, there was Daniel made a definite impact down there with the teachers, with his particular teacher, with Chris Parkening, with the faculty, etc., etc. Everyone that met Daniel speaks of his character, speaks of his dedication, speaks of his focus. When I was talking to Daniel's mother, she said it wasn't just Daniel playing the piece, the music, note perfect. It was like the artistic expression and the music came through his soul. And I agree with that totally. We're going to listen to Daniel play another solo, and it's Confessions Romance by Augustine Barrios.
Hello, my name is Daniel Carter. I am from Ephrata, Washington, and I'm very excited to be playing this music for you today, especially this piece, this Confession Romance. It's such a beautiful work by the composer with such passionate aspects and such aspects such as angst throughout the whole piece, and I'm very excited about the opportunity to hopefully visit Paraguay as well to see what influenced him spiritually to write such powerful music. So I hope you enjoy this piece. This is the Confession Romance. See you in Paraguay.
Daniel wasn't only just a wonderful guitarist, but he was also a teacher. His mother informed me that he had over 50 guitar and piano students in his hometown. And with his money that he made doing that, he bought himself a nice guitar for, I believe she said $7,000. So Daniel was quite a young man. We're going to go to his last performance that I believe was recorded, and that was after he came back to Spokane and was back at Whitworth studying with Paul. And this was this December, I believe, wasn't it, Vern? Yeah. The Whitworth Choir, accompanied by Daniel Carter. That was the Whitworth Choir, accompanied there by Daniel Carter, called Lullaby. Very lovely. This has been a memorial tribute to the late guitarist Daniel Carter. And again, there's going to be a memorial in his hometown, Ephrata, at the Bethlehem Chapel in Ephrata, Washington, and it's at 1 p.m. on Saturday, January the 19th. Anyone interested?
So there we have it, this guitarist that we've had such fine music making from. And speaking of which, we have a concert we have a couple concerts. Let me first announce by saying that it's 4 o'clock for the concert this Sunday with Paul Grove, St. John's Cathedral, but you'll be at that lovely space of the Jacqueline Arts and Cultural Center.
Yes, acoustically so beautiful, and that's tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Yeah, I hope you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. It's just I've been kind of dealing with putting this together. I hadn't even really given enough mental thought to that yet, but I will now. And I'm going to have Vern pick something from one of my CDs just to give you a sample.
Let's go out with a little bit of Leon Atkinson from what we call the Blue Album. It's technically called Space. Has a lot of regular classical pieces and a few lovely songs from our time, including this real classic from all time.
Danny Boy, Leon Atkinson, guitarist, and I feel that was appropriate for the memorial tribute to young Daniel Carter, to end it with that.
Once again, these two guitar concerts coming along this weekend. Tomorrow night, Leon Atkinson, the Jekyll Arts and Cultural Center in Post Falls at 7:30. Then on Sunday at the Cathedral of St. John in Spokane at 4 o'clock will be Paul Grove. Thank you for all of this, Leon.
You're very